everyone. Welcome to a brand new hour of National Report. We're glad you're here. I'm Emma Reckenberg.
I'm Daniel Cohen. Sean is off this week. Today, Wednesday, March 2nd, Ash Wednesday, 2022.
The Kremlin continues its devastating onslaught of attacks against Ukraine. Ukraine's state emergency service saying hospitals and homes were bombed last night as a major Russian convoy makes its way to Kyiv. We'll have a live report on the ground in Ukraine in just moments.
Yep. In the meantime, though, President Biden delivering his first State of the Union. He hammered a couple of issues, including the pandemic. But has it really improved under his leadership? We go to Chief White House correspondent James Rosen live on the North Lawn with more. James, good morning.
Daniel and Emma, good morning to you. It is a mark of the country's progress against the coronavirus as advanced under the last two presidents that the subject occupied a tertiary role behind Ukraine and inflation in the president's State of the Union address last night. To many eyes, it was a jarring sight to see a man in his 80th year, maskless and surrounded by others without masks, shaking hands and conversing close to each other in a crowded event space after 2 years of an on-again, off-again mask mandate policy championed by the very figure at the center of the action. Mr. Biden said we have reached a new moment in the long struggle against COVID-19 with the country moving back towards, quote, more normal routines.
I know some are talking about living with COVID-19, but tonight I say that we never will just accept living with COVID-19. We'll continue to combat the virus as we do other diseases. And because this virus mutates and spreads, we have to stay on guard.
Now, later this morning, the White House is announcing a new national COVID-19 preparedness plan. Parts of this plan were announced last night, including the additional availability of free testing kits through the website covidtest.gov and the availability of new treatments.
And now we're launching the Test to Treat initiative. So people can get tested at a pharmacy, and if they prove positive, receive the antiviral pills on the spot at no cost. And folks, if you're immunocompromised or have some other vulnerability, we have treatments and free high-quality masks. We're leaving no one behind or ignoring anyone's needs as we move forward.
And those new testing kits and those new treatments, again, should be available to Americans at no cost. At 10:30, just about a half hour from now, we expect a briefing from the president's COVID-19 team, including Dr. Fauci and Dr. Oleksiy of CDC, unveiling this new national preparedness plan. Perhaps in the background, Daniel and Emma, you can hear the sound of helicopter rotors. That is the sound of Marine One landing on the south lawn of the White House, preparing to take President Biden on a trip which is traditional after the State of the Union. The president traditionally hits the road to sell his policies. Today, President Biden is heading to the University of Wisconsin campus in Superior, Wisconsin, to tout his bipartisan infrastructure plan. Back to you guys.
Yeah, James, you know, President Biden really tried to use COVID and to bring Americans together. You know, he's talked about let's not demonize one another on this issue, but you don't have to be a student of history to remember that this president a short while ago said that this was a pandemic of the unvaccinated. He warned every American to prepare for the winter of death.
You know, this was a jarring moment for many in the speech where the president said we don't have to depict each other as enemies. And yet, of course, it was this same president who derided as Neanderthal thinking when Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, lifted some restrictions on COVID. And he also derided Republicans pursuing various voting laws in their own states as people representing Jim Crow 2.0.
That's right.
And so perhaps the president's desire in a less vicious partisan atmosphere hasn't always been borne out by his own actions.
Yeah. James Rosen, live at the North Lawn, and we will have much more on the President's State of the Union with you later on this morning as well. James, thank you.
Meanwhile, Russian military forces escalating attacks on Ukraine's residential areas, the death toll mounting. For the latest on Ukraine, let's go now to foreign correspondent Sarah Williamson, standing by just outside the capital city of Kyiv. Sarah, good morning to you.
Good morning, Emma, and good morning, Dan. Now, as Russian forces just continue to edge closer to Kyiv and strike the city from above, they're yet to penetrate the city with the ground forces after days of attempting to do so. The outskirts of Kyiv continue to be hit heavily, but the real main battle here is on the grounds of Kharkiv and Kherson. Now, Russia's relentless assault on Kharkiv in the northeast of the country has been ongoing for days now, and the Russians continue to hit civilian areas there. Today, Russian missiles hit the police headquarters in the area and the National University, where 4 people were killed. Just yesterday, you might remember, 21 people were killed and 112 were wounded in that day alone. That's where we saw that missile strike on the administrative building and many other strikes that happened on residential areas in that area that just really prove that that Russia is striking civilian areas and not just military areas like they say they are. And down in Kherson, Russia is still, they say that they're in full control of the city, but the Ukrainians say otherwise. They say that although the city is fully surrounded, the battle for the city, it still continues. Dan and Emma.
You know, Sarah, quick question. For those who have either taken up arms in Ukraine or are seeking shelter, isolating themselves from the fighting here, do they have the resources that they need? Do they have access to food and water?
Yeah, so this is a question I actually get asked a lot. And the people here, they're under a strict curfew from 8 p.m. until, from 7 p.m. until 8 a.m. the next day. This is in Kyiv. So people are allowed to leave their home throughout the day. Where we are right now, there are people walking through the streets, many people going to the bank, going to the gas stations, and there are small places that are open. So people can go out and get the resources that they do need. You see markets that are open not very frequently, but there are some. And these ones that you do see, there will be lines of hundreds of people lining up to get in and restock their pantries full of food. And there are huge lines. Same with the gas stations. And they just have to do this at any opportunity that they get before they go back into strict lockdown like we saw over the weekend.
Yeah, it's just so frightening. Of course, it comes at a time when we've seen hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians fleeing the country as refugees, trying to find safety at neighboring countries, including Poland. Sarah Williamson, live for us in Kyiv with the latest. Sarah, thank you. Meanwhile, from the political halls of parliament to the front lines fighting for their country, Ukrainian parliament member Oleksiy Goncharenko is standing shoulder to shoulder with Ukrainian soldiers on the ground. Oleksiy joining us now. If you can hear, thank you. It's nice to see you. I understand you've joined the Civil Guard and militia for Ukraine. What encouraged you to join? Tell me about that effort.
Because that's my country, and I want to do my best. Certainly, I'm not very good in military issues. I don't have military experience, but I believe that if it will be the last thing, and we are defending our city, if Russians will penetrate to the city, to Kiev, we need to be all together, and we need to fight with the occupants. So that's why I did it, and also I think that's important for people to see that nobody is leaving them, that government is not running, but quite opposite, is fighting together with them, shoulder to shoulder. So that's why I made this decision and joined Civil Guard, civil militia.
You know, we're showing some images of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky during this time, who's also made it clear that he's not leaving. He's willing to protect his country as well. Sir, your thoughts on the leadership that you've seen from the top of your country. What do you have to say about Zelensky?
He is our chief commander. Before the war, I was in opposition to Mr. Zelensky, but now there is no opposition in Ukraine. Everybody are united to stop the enemy, and he is our chief commander. And I believe that he is doing his best, like all of us on our places, to win this war, this existential war for us. And we need to do this because you understand that the forces of Russian Federation are much bigger than ours. And it's like a David and Goliath story. But you know who wins in this story?
Yeah. There's been support internationally that has poured in for Ukraine, including from the United States. We saw last night the president saying, he's got the hearts of the Ukrainian people in his own heart at this point. Your thoughts, sir, on the United States' response to this crisis overseas for us?
Yes, the United States are responding, and we are thankful to the United States. But we feel that more can be done. And these are two main things that I will stress attention on. By the way, I addressed my colleagues in Congress with this, and I know that they're working on this too. First of all is a non-flight zone over Ukraine, because you understand that all this terror that you showed, all these missiles, air attacks, it's everything from the air. And because Russians are much, much stronger there, and they're using it just to terrorize people. And NATO can provide a non-fly zone like it was done in Libya and Syria, if not by American forces, but for example by patriots, and our people can work with them. But help us in this, please, because it's desperately needed. And second thing is more sanctions, and the main thing is a ban embargo on Russian oil and gas, because it's now bloody oil and bloody gas.
Yeah, those have been the two pleas of the Ukrainian people, alongside, of course, additional military supplies and prayers during this incredibly difficult time. Oleksiy joining us on this program. Thank you. We appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, where real news for real people.